Rough day for 49er faithful. Hearing your starting quarterback is down, going across the country to play the Green Bay Packers. That's just a rough way to start the weekend. Hearing Brock Purdy is out, and then you hear Nick Bosa is out. A lot of things have gone on over the last few days, right? From Brock Purdy not practicing or very limited to him throwing the football a few times and reporters reporting it as he's throwing and he's back, to a few other reporters saying, well, it wasn't really throwing. It was Brock Purdy kind of warming up, Brock Purdy throwing soft toss about 5 to 8 yards. And then he ran off to the locker room. Rough situation going on. Today, it's going to be a fun show. Definitely going to be a fun show. We're going to have a call-in show. I'll put the link in the chat right now. So those of you who would like to call in, you want to be the first one in line to call in, the link will be in the chat. It will be there. So if you would like to go ahead and tune in, the link or call in, the link is in the chat. Go ahead and click on it. Jump up. Before we get into everything, I know a lot of people on Twitter were DMing me, asking me questions regarding the Brock situation. And out of fun, me and a couple of my guys, Jesse and David Lichty, Jesse Naylor of Clutching or Last Second Sports, my bad. And he decided to we wanted to poke a little fun because I had information and I texted them yesterday prior to the 49ers announcing that Brock Purdy will not be at the media, that they were going to scratch him from media session. So I texted them about an hour before that happened, and I told them, like, look, this is what's happening. We could go ahead and if thought it was interesting because when I had heard it, I thought it was weird the way it was sent to me, right? Like, it was sent to me as Niners PR, and I'll pull it up right now. I do have a text message of it, but I was pulled up. Leo, I'll get to your question right now. I will let you guys ask questions. I would prefer if you guys called in to ask the questions. There are stuff that I cannot answer just due to one of my guys that is feeding me the information. Out of respect to him, he asked me to not report certain things. So, I mean, I'll do everything I can with giving you guys all the information that I possibly can because, again, I'm here for the show, not necessarily for the credential or anything like that. So we're going to do that. But yesterday I thought it was interesting. I told the guys, like, hey, look, this is what's happening. What are you guys hearing to see if they had heard anything? And this is what we saw. Let me bring that up. So this is a text thread between me, David Lichty, and Jesse. I tweeted it out. I sent them at around 2:18. Niners PR is looking to remove Brock from media today. David Lichty says, wow. And then Jesse Naylor said, if Allen talks. And then we obviously kept talking beyond that. And then today, I had heard, it was more so last night when I was texting the guys, I had heard, but I wanted to confirm that I had heard with them. And I had texted them that Brock Purdy was getting an MRI on his shoulder and his elbow. At least from what I had heard, it was right now. I don't know when it was. My guy texted me. I took it as he was getting an MRI right now when he wasn't at practice. The reason why he wasn't at practice, that's how I took it. So that's how I texted to them. John Lynch comes on to KMBR, and he announces that Brock Purdy has got an MRI. So 2 days in a row, what I'm being told happened back to back. Shared that with David and shared that with Jesse. Weird situation going on because I know a lot of people would like the 49ers organization to be super honest and super straightforward with them. And the fans want to know what's going on. They don't want to have to wait and see what's going on with their quarterback, especially in coming to a big game when they're 5-5. That's a rough freaking situation as a fan to be in. So when I'm getting this information, I'm wanting to report it on Twitter, but at the same time, I also want to respect my guy saying it. I'm like, dude, I'm having to share with my guys. I'm like, dude, look what's going on. My thought process on everything, it's been something that it's been lingering. And hopefully you guys can click on the link if you guys want to call in and ask questions on what I've heard. My thought process on it is, can the 49ers win without Brock Purdy? I think you can. There's, to an extent, I think you can win without Brock Purdy. Now, the reason why I say this, I don't think you're going to go a long stretch with winning without Brock Purdy, but can you win one game without Brock Purdy? I think it's possible. I think you could truly win a game on the road in the cold weather running the ball. I don't think you're going to be able to win 3 or 4 games. So if Brock's out, and I know Leo asked that question, so we'll get to that in a little bit. I think the method to beat the Green Bay Packers is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Jordan Mason needs to at least get 10 or 15 touches, at least, in my opinion. This is the kind of game where it's cold weather. You don't want to tackle a bigger running back who hits hard and is hard to bring down. That's the kind of guy you play in this kind of game. Soften up that defense and then let Christian McCaffrey run the ball. That's what I would like to see for the 49ers. The pass game might not be there. As Jesus says, we heard Brandon Allen is starting. Man, weird situation for him Niners not to go to Dobbs. I asked why Allen over Dobbs, and essentially what I got was the Niners feel a little bit more comfortable with Brandon Allen running their offense. And remember, Kyle's he's a stickler when it comes to his offense on how it's ran. He wants you to truly run the offense and not provide anything else or extending plays certain ways. He's still feeling a little weird when it comes to Brock doing it. He wants you to hit the back foot, balls out. It's a very timing offense and a rhythm offense. So that's why they're leaning Brandon Allen over Josh Dobbs. And I was like, is there, and I love to follow up on questions. To me, following up on a question is extremely important. I asked, do you think there's something where if Josh Dobbs was to play really well or extremely well, passing, running, the organization and fans, media would say maybe Brock Purdy isn't as good? And my guy said there's definitely a PR something in there in terms of that's also a factor, right? If Josh Dobbs plays extremely well, we've seen him play well 1 or 2 games last year. Obviously, he had a longer stretch. He's a spot starter. He's not a starter in the NFL. It's definitely not what Josh Dobbs is. But if he was to have 1 or 2 games where he plays extremely well and then Brock is back, people are questioning Brock. And I think that's what the Niners don't want. They know Brandon Allen can give them enough. They can run the ball. That's going to be the game plan. So going forward, that's what it is. Shout out to you, 49ers Faith Throwback. I did see you say smash that like and subscribe button. He said, happy Friday and go Warriors. Absolutely. Love seeing my Warriors get a dub tonight. Man, the Warriors are playing some phenomenal basketball. I think they're just one player away. I think they need a big, a true big. Get a big in there that could actually defend the paint and rebound the ball. Not the biggest fan of Jackson or Davis, whatever his last name is, TJD. Not a big fan of his. I think he's still small on that end. Interesting to see. Shout out to the 49ers 2024. What up, Marco? Hope you're doing well. Likewise. You don't see the Niners trying to sign Daniel Jones. If they were to try to sign Daniel Jones, it wouldn't be this week. Because even if you do sign Daniel Jones, you have 1 day to get him on up to speed, and you're not throwing that kind of quarterback in. Absolutely, you're not. You're just not doing it. It would be ridiculous to do it. Again, I'm going to continue dropping the link. So if you guys would like to give a call in, you guys could go ahead and call in. We ask questions, talk about the 49ers. It's rough being 5-5. Truthfully, it is. I would rather you guys call in, ask questions versus me talking about Brock Purdy's injury and the 49ers. The reason is if you ask questions, I know I'm not supposed to speak regarding certain situations, but if I slip up while you ask a question because I'm a person who likes to just answer the question straight up. I would much rather that me slipping up by accident than me slipping up now. And you guys could ask about the injury, what it is. I do know from multiple people that I talked to what the injury is, at least what they're expecting, at least what they're talking about. It is Nick Bosa's problem. Nick Bosa, I think Nick Bosa might be out a few weeks. I would not be shocked to see Bosa being on the IR. That injury, dealing with both sides of the hip and the obliques. Tom 49 says blink if Brock is done for the year. Did I do that right, Tom? How was I supposed to do that? Like, how do you want me to 1 blink, 2 blink, double blink? Not sure what you wanted there. Teach me, explain to me how you want me to blink, but don't know what you're going, but hope that worked. Hope that got what you wanted. Brandon Allen, game plan. How do you beat the Green Bay Packers? In my opinion, run the ball, play defense, get a turnover. That's the only way you beat the Packers without Brock Purdy. If Brandon Allen has a good game, it's going to be interesting because Brock has obviously struggled. Brock Purdy has dealt with pain for the last few weeks. Now, Brock Purdy's pain is in a spot that he's dealt with pain before. From what I am hearing, shout out to United Gang. And you better call in and explain to us what you're eating. Appreciate you, United Gang. We'll get you on once you get up here. He is dealing. So from what I've heard, is Brock Purdy is dealing with a little bit of elbow fatigue, elbow tightness throughout the season. It's kind of been something that's been bothering him a little bit. Now, if people were to ask, media was to ask Brock, Kyle, John, they're gonna say no. They don't want no one knowing that he's dealing with that. I asked multiple people, and multiple people confirmed that he is dealing with a little bit of elbow tightness. And when I heard that, I freaked out because initially when I heard he wasn't throwing, I thought it was the elbow. I was like, holy shit, it's the elbow. It's the fucking elbow again. And I was in panic mode like that. There goes the rest of the season. They were going to essentially be doing what Throwback wants. Think for Travis Hunter. And I got really worried for the 49ers season, but more so for Brock Purdy. And this is a tough situation for Brock to be in because as a young quarterback who hasn't really gotten paid yet, you want to be playing. You want to be playing to prove that you're a top 5 quarterback, you're a top 10 quarterback, and you want to get paid in the league, right? You want to be able to prove it. But when you're dealing with injuries, you're dealing with something that's holding you out. It's physically preventing you from throwing a football. And you can't prove it. You cannot get that payday. And then you end up having a similar injury to a massive injury. First thing I thought was, there goes his big payday, and he's been playing on pennies. Right away, I felt for Brock. So I started calling, asked, and they're like, no, it's nothing major with the elbow. The elbow, he feels tightness. He feels fatigue sometimes where it feels like it just doesn't feel right. But they weren't concerned. And that began about a few weeks back. I turn on the film, start watching. We could start noticing Brock's arm strength. The ball isn't coming out right. There's no zip on the ball. So I'm kind of worried about that. And then the shoulder injury did occur early in the game against the Seattle Seahawks. We saw him turn down a lot of throws, more throws than I've ever seen Brock turn down. So obviously he wasn't right. But the thing is I'm a firm believer, if you're going to be playing hurt, and there's a difference between being hurt and injured. Being hurt means you're in pain. Being injured is you cannot play. During that Seattle game, Brock was playing hurt. He was playing through pain. If you're going to play through pain, you're going to get criticized. It just is what it is at any sport, any level. You're going to get criticized because you're good enough to play. So that's concerning. Shout out to Roger Morales dropping a super chat. What up, Marco? Hope all is well. I'm glad I can catch it live once again. Shout out to you. Your Rams look good. You guys are playing well. unfortunately. 5-5 as well. We're all fighting for that division. You know what's going to happen, though. Niners are going to win the division. Just because it's you, Roger, I got to say it. Niners are winning that division. Who would have thought, though, that the fucking Cards would be leading the NFC West? I have a cousin of mine who's a Cardinals fan, and I like to give him stuff because his Cards are 6-4, 6-5 in the division, and I keep telling him that they're going to blow the division. They're going to end up losing the division to the Niners because their schedule is tricky. They play a lot of division games. They play, I believe, you guys twice. No, Seattle twice, you guys, and then us. So I like to mess with them and saying they're going to lose the division because they have to play a gauntlet of NFC West teams. Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa. How are we looking at the Nick Bosa situation? And Steve-O, if you want to call in, I know you always like to super chat and or not super chat, but chat and everything. Again, I will drop the link so everyone has that link. Nick Bosa's injury is concerning for the defense. The defense has already struggled in fourth quarters. How do you get after the quarterback? How do you stop the run? How do you get after the quarterback? That's my concern. Because the run defense is already bad as it is. Now you lose Nick Bosa, who's an extremely good run defender. He doesn't get credit for that. And all of a sudden, you're asking other players who don't really play to stop the run, get after the quarterback. Are we going to let Jordan Love sit back there all day and pick us apart? That's freaking concerning to me. That's extremely concerning. I want to see Nick Sorensen. This game dictates whether Nick Sorensen should be an NFL defensive coordinator or not. It'll dictate whether he's good enough. When you're less talented, how do you coach? What do you scheme up? Can you call blitzes? Can you do certain things? I don't think he can. I've said this in the past. I don't think he's ready to call plays. I didn't think he was ready to be a defensive coordinator. And if you're not ready to be a defensive coordinator, guess what? Time is ticking. You'll be on the hot seat. You'll be gone. Now that's where Kyle Shanahan comes into play, right? Head coach Kyle Shanahan hires Nick Sorensen, hires Steve Wilkes last year, fires Steve Wilkes after a year. Does he fire Nick Sorensen after a year? That would be drastic to fire a defensive coordinator back-to-back years because your evaluation is wrong. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. That's just me as for the 49ers defense. Players who haven't played well defensively. Fred Warner hasn't played well. Jair Brown has been a disaster. And that's a nice way to put it. I think he's been really, really bad. Defensively, Devondre Campbell's played better the last few weeks, but he's terrible going back to Green Bay. They should probably just leave him in Green Bay. They should have left him in Green Bay, never have signed him. My honest opinion, said it then, said it now. Trying to think on defense. Leonard Floyd hasn't lived up to what the Niners were hoping for. That's a major concern, right? You're trying to fight for the playoffs. Can he step up? He's the guy who needs to step up this week, actually. He is the guy. If you want to beat the Green Bay Packers, Leonard Floyd needs to have a good game. He needs to have a great game. You need to get after the quarterback. You need to be the one that commands a double team here and there because you got to create more one-on-ones for everyone else. And if Leonard Floyd could have a productive day, the Niners will have a chance. Now, for me, I'm excited to see the young guys, Evan Anderson, Sam O, Robert Beal get more playing time. I don't think he's that good. Robert Beal is. I don't think he's that good. Play D Winters a little bit more. It's time to play the young guys, man. It's time to play the young guys. 49ers throwback says, Marco, so what's going on with Kyle? What do you mean by what's going on with Kyle? I've had a lot of people ask me this over the past few weeks, or the last couple of days more so. What's going on with Kyle? I don't know what you guys are saying when it comes to that. The reason is I know someone said he doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look right. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't watch Kyle Shanahan every day. I'm not in person to see him. I don't watch the media segments. I listen to them. I don't watch them. The reason I don't watch them is because usually I'm watching them while I'm working. Kyle Shanahan, why does everyone want to fire Kyle? Like, I want someone to come up here and explain to me why they want to fire Kyle. The link's in the description. I know Brother Bob's going to come in here, but he's scared. He don't want that smoke. Hope he's watching, because I don't understand wanting to fire Kyle. I really don't. I get there should be blame put on him, but wanting to fire Kyle, Cardinals will win the division. They might. They have the edge, and they have a weaker strength of schedule the rest of the way. Thoughts on D Winners? Any potential there? I see flash. I think there's potential there. I think D Winners could be your real linebacker next year. I don't think they bring back Dre Greenlaw. I don't think they have the money to bring back Dre Greenlaw. And I think D Winners is that guy. I think he is going to be a really good linebacker next to Fred Warner. I've seen it, see flashes of it every week. You can see he is a good linebacker. The speed is slowing down for him. Kenny says he loves Kyle. Why do you love Kyle? I really like Kyle. I don't love Kyle. I don't think he's the greatest coach in the league. I don't think he's a top 2 and everything like that, but he's also not a fireable coach right now. Do you think Kyle will ever bring an offensive coordinator? Rambo, Red, do me a favor. Call in, explain to me why Kyle Shanahan needs an offensive coordinator. I'll give my opinion on it, but call in and explain to me why he should be why he needs an offensive coordinator. I mean, if you can give good reasons on why, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I believe he shouldn't or he should. He loves Madden like you. You love Kyle. You think Kyle Shanahan loves Madden? I think Kyle Shanahan hates Madden. I think Kyle Shanahan absolutely hates Madden. I really do. If Grant was to ask Kyle Shanahan, or like David Lombardi were to ask Kyle Shanahan, or whoever's in the media was to ask Kyle Shanahan, hey, do you like Madden? He would probably look at them and be like, does it look like I have time to play Madden? Hate that game. Hate when my kids are playing Madden. Like, he would say something like that because he's like, it's not real football. None of you guys have questions to ask about Brock Purdy? That's crazy. Like, I thought the whole show was going to be asking me about Brock Purdy. But again, if you want to ask about Brock Purdy, you got to call in. Just, it is what it is. We got Rambo backstage. So let's see if we can bring him up.
Okay.
Yo, Rambo, how can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think everyone can hear you as well. So your question was, and I'll give you the floor until someone else jumps up, or whenever you want to bounce and everything like that. Usually 5 minutes is what we do. So I have the timer running. So if anything, someone comes up, that'll be your 5 minutes. But you said Kyle Shanahan should hire an offensive coordinator. Why so?
No, I didn't say he should, but I was just asking, do you think he would? Like, if that would help him kind of more so focus on being a head coach instead of just kind of focusing on just the offense details. It seems like he's kind of missing some of the small stuff with, being an OC and a head coach. Seems like he's not able to, make some of the right play call adjustments, or maybe even focus on the personnel that he has sometimes. I mean, ultimately, he's an NFL head coach, so he knows what he's doing more so than any of us that could call in and question him. But I just would, think sometimes maybe the OC would help him execute better in games.
No, I absolutely 100% like what you're saying, right? Like, people think Kyle shouldn't be questioned and Kyle shouldn't have like questions around him, right? Like, this is a great point. My question next for you, Rambo, is: are you the feds?
No,
Because
not at all.
you must be reading my text messages with a lot of people.
I would like to. I would like to. I want to know the info, but I just kind of wondered that.
I was asking that question to a couple of guys that I talked to. One of them was in the Niners organization, and a few other guys that I talked to on a regular. And I was explaining to him why I do think Kyle should have an offensive coordinator. Like, exactly how you're saying. Like, he needs an offensive coordinator. The last time we've seen Kyle with coordinator roles, it was when he had why am I blanking? Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniels as his like run game coordinator. And then he had a passing game coordinator So he had two coordinators, but they weren't an offensive coordinator. And I think that's a great conversation on what they need, because right now, when we look at even last year, Kyle Shanahan had Anthony Lynn and he had Clint Kubiak, who's now with the New Orleans Saints, right? He's their offense coordinator over there. And when we look at that, I think there's something that is there, right? Those two coaches were very trustable for Kyle. He knew one was a former head coach, a really respectable coach around the NFL, and he knew one was a former successful offensive coordinator, offensive play caller with the Rams, or not with the Rams, with the Vikings. Then he went over with the Broncos for a little period, and he was a good play caller there. So I think he respected them enough to give them a lot more. And during games, taking their opinions, during the film sessions, during installs for that week on what their game plan was, taking what they're saying and implementing into their offense. Right now, when we see what Kyle has, he has Mick Lombardi and little Kubiak, Clay Kubiak, Clint's little brother. And I don't think he trusts them as much as he has other people. And so I would love for Kyle to bring someone in who is a respectable offensive mind, whether it's an offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, but someone to promote and put some weight on their shoulders to take things off of his shoulders. That's just me.
Who would you suggest? Who would you think might come in if he decides their choice?
I don't know who he would bring in. Truthfully, I don't know what Kyle's thought process is and on who he wants as a coach. Obviously, we've seen, at least for the past, from what the Niners do, Kyle likes to hire friends. He likes to hire people, family guys that he's worked alongside, like the Kubiak brothers. Usually NFL, it's about who
you know,
and who you owe favors. That's what I've noticed. It's who do you owe favors to, and at the end of the day, I see that with Kyle a little bit. So I don't know who he would hire, but I do think that an offensive coordinator should be had. Now the question is, though, Rambo, is do you think should Kyle give up play calling duties?
Depends on the experience of the OC that he would bring in. They unexperienced, then probably not. He just would take secondhand suggestions. I don't see him backing down to somebody that's not overly proven. Somebody overly proven that he respects, absolutely. I think he should, so he can focus on everything else. Because just from what we heard from the Super Bowl and him stepping in and changing play calls on defense, he's able to do that as a head coach when he has time to. But if he doesn't have time to, I see us continuing to run into this brick wall of losses from, whether it's poor player performance or just bad calls or bad personnel adjustments.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. Have you ever seen Kyle not looking at his playbook or play sheet or the iPad when the defense is on the field? Is he into the game? Does he know what's going on?
It seems like he'll look up momentarily, and if the play is successful or bad, he'll go right back into that play sheet. Like every time I've seen him, his head is down, he'll peek up for 1 second to see if it works, and then he's right back in that playbook. So I don't know. I think it would be a great help, though.
And what's concerning about that is Kyle Shanahan. So what a lot of people don't understand is Kyle's the head coach, right? And he's brought defensive coordinators in. He brought Steve Wilks, who didn't really run the 49ers 4-3 cover 3 system that they run, the wide 9. Nick Sorensen, obviously he was there for a couple of years, so he understands what they're doing. But he told them, you got to run what I want you to run. You got to run this cover 3 scheme with the wide 9. So at the end of the day, it's Kyle Shanahan's defense. It's his offense, it's his defense. It's Kyle's team. Seeing him have his head down, I do agree that an offensive coordinator, someone it doesn't even have to be an offensive coordinator. Maybe a passing game coordinator, a run game coordinator that is not your offensive line coach. Offensive line coach is going to be over there talking to his offensive line, looking at offensive line stuff, what is going on. Someone he trusts really, really well, being up there in the booth to tell him, hey, Kyle, you should probably go to this. We should probably stick with this. Kyle, this isn't working. The end arounds are not working today. They're not going to work.
Absolutely.
Because right now we're seeing some of the stuff that he goes away from something or he goes to something and it's not there. So I agree with you. They probably should bring in an offensive coordinator, an offensive mind. And it was actually a question I asked to my guy who's inside the 49ers building on if that's something he thinks the Niners should do or he thinks Kyle Shanahan will do. And his answer was, if the right person comes available or the right promotion becomes available and they might lose somebody, he will, but he doesn't think Kyle will ever give up play calling duties.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
He was confident about that. He's like, I don't ever see Kyle giving up play calling duty. He's like, I don't see that at all.
It seems like that's his passion more than being a head coach. Like he's more passionate about dialing into his plays to see him carried out and work.
I mean, when you're an offensive mind, like that's your baby, right? Like your offense is your baby.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's gonna be your focus. But with him having a focus in that and say so over the defense, I think that might be scrambling him ultimately. You know, he's lost inside his own head in games sometimes. That could be the issue.
a lot of the
So
time, but I like to talk to people. Like, obviously, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not the smartest football mind or anything. Like, I never like to try to come off that way. But I feel like Kyle comes off that way in media to me. So I asked someone who's pretty close to Kyle in that building. I asked him. I was like, "Hey, do you think?" I was like, "Do you think Kyle overthinks things so much because he's this super smart genius?" He's like, "Absolutely." He's like, "Sometimes he does." He's like, in the sense of he's overthinking something, thinking. He's like, "I'm gonna do this, and if I'm right, I'm a genius. And if I'm wrong, I don't want to be blamed." And he said that, I'm like, damn, like, you're right. I've noticed that about Kyle. Like, if when he's wrong on
yeah.
something, he don't take the blame. Like, he don't take the accountability as the head coach. So that's very interesting. Rambo, what's your thoughts on Brandon Allen starting? Are you excited for this game? What are your thoughts going into this game right now?
Man, I really think we kind of might be biting off more than we could chew with this game, just with the injuries. And Brandon Allen has never really shown myself or anybody else that I've spoken with anything to really have a big faith or belief behind him. But it is what it is at this point. You know, we all Niners fans, so we riding and dying. If we lose, we lose. That's not going to take us away from being Niners. You know, we just hope that our head coach can change things around next season because this one looks kind of wrapped up, but we won't know until tomorrow.
And you are you a you said the head coach could turn it around. If the head coach has to make another pick at quarterback, are you excited about it? Do you believe in Kyle to make that pick? Do you believe Brock's the answer? What do you think of the quarterback situation? Because right now,
Um,
obviously, the quarterback's looming. Is he injury prone? Like a lot of question marks, right? A lot of things that are
yeah.
going on with Brock. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, initially I was kind of concerned that Brock would be Jimmy 2.0, but he did some things, you know, kind of surprised me, and I, you know, got behind him like any other fan would. We see a quarterback is selling, despite his shortcomings. But ultimately, kind of what we seeing this year, you want to gauge a quarterback for like, from what I'm seeing, about 3 to 4 years to see what he's made of. I don't know if this year is totally on him. And then hearing with the injury, that changes a lot of stuff too, you know. But I would like to see him still get another quarterback. I think we should take a quarterback almost every year until we know, we've got a packed quarterback room. We got guys that's, the next one in the chamber, basically. So I think that would give Kyle a little bit more time, as much as some of the fans are, getting on, get rid of him and stuff. If he always has another guy that's up, maybe the next guy could be that one if Brock isn't.
So you think Brock is the answer right now, and the thing is with Brock being the answer. You said you don't believe it's all on Brock this year on the offensive
Yeah.
side. Why so?
Well, we took forever to sign his number one go-to guy, BA, which you have to have your passing game in sync, and you get that in sync through training in the summer, which with BA not working out with the team, that kind of disturbs some of that. Those things off certain plays you might not run because those are plays that'll go to BA. Then he comes in the season, he's looking slow because he hasn't been with the team, and Brock hasn't been throwing to him. So that's one thing. Number two, I would probably say some of the passes, yeah, I see some things that Brock is turning down, but from what I'm hearing, he's turning it down throws because he could not make them because of his injury. So
But then,
that
but how are we gonna say it's the injury? Because we've seen him the past few weeks. Obviously last week he was injured during the game at some point, right? What about the other 9 games on him turning throws down?
yeah, that's I was hearing it was before that. I was hearing he's had some irritation before that game. I don't know it to be true. Now, if it's not true and he was just out there stinking it up, by all means, hell yeah. You know, you showed us you can get there, but you haven't showed us you can win the big game, which is what really matters. So you want to bring in that guy that could really win that big game. I don't really want to pay this guy $60 million a year and he's just good enough to get you there. I want to pay
Absolutely.
60 mil to the guy that's going to win that thing, which how do we find this guy? You know, how do we scout this guy? I'm not really confident that we could find him, but anything can happen. We found Brock, so why not? You know?
Absolutely. Totally understand what you're saying. I a little bit disagree, but thank you, Rambo, for calling in on that. I'll go into Brock a little bit later. I know you did mention something. I don't did you read that on Twitter that he's been dealing with this injury for a little bit longer?
Jesse Naylor.
Okay, yeah,
he brought it up on his channel. He was saying something about it.
I'll touch on it
Quick.
right now. Once you're out and everything, I'll touch on it real quick before the next caller in, so we could talk about that real quick. Just because
Okay.
this one's for I'll give that one for Rambo right now on what's going on. Thank you, Rambo, for calling in. Appreciate you, brother.
Gotcha.
So what happened is Rambo is right. It has been a little bit longer than 1 week. Brock's been dealing with elbow tightness, fatigue, whatever you guys want to call it, for the past, from what I was told, 3 to 4 weeks. Don't know when it happened, how bad it is, but he has been dealing with that, and he's been dealing with, as they said, arm fatigue. I don't necessarily agree with it, but if you go back 4 or 5 weeks, there's no zip on passes. Makes sense on why there's been no zip. And if that's the case, this isn't something Brock is just magically going to heal over. That's at least what I've been told. I was able to share that, at least on that elbow stuff. The shoulder, from what I've been told, it's AC sprain. That's what I was told. So next caller in, let's go ahead and bring him up. Trey Way, how's it going, Trey Way?
Yo, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. How you doing, brother?
Oh, awesome, bro. I'm doing good, man. I work right now, but I was watching the show, so I was like, maybe call in. But now I'm even more interested in talking about Brock right now and that elbow soreness or the elbow. There is no tendonitis in the elbow, right?
From
Or
what
from
I've
what
been
you
told,
know.
so great question. From what I've been told, like I've been trying to ask all these questions, right? Following up on everything, just to be as pinpoint. So when I do tell people what's going on, like I'm as accurate as I possibly can be from what I've been told. Again, this is the guy who's been telling me that Brock wasn't going to be in the media during media session, that Brock was out, that Brock wasn't going to practice today, that he had an MRI. Same guy that told me about Brandon Ayuk's contract before it even happened. So he's been very, very credible, very, very reliable for me. He said that it's arm like fatigue, tightness on that elbow. I asked what that means. He didn't really want to answer it, but he told me I could share that it has been elbow tightness, fatigue from that elbow, and then the shoulder, from what I was told, was a AC sprain. And from what I was told, that the shoulder injury is kind of something that lingered from the Tampa game. So during the Tampa game, he started dealing with some shoulder stuff, and then last week he sprained his AC joint, and it's worse than they thought. They initially thought it wasn't that bad, and it's from what I was told, an AC sprain, and it's a grade 2. So
Damn. Okay. So from what you're hearing in the inside, do you feel like they're optimistic that everything might work itself out as far as like injuries, the tightness may be able to subside? Because I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if he was dealing with this last year, but it seemed he was able to play a full 20 something games to get us to the Super Bowl, and I didn't see any problem. But do you think that they feel optimistic? And also, do you know what is causing the tightness? Like, was it a certain hit that he took? Was it like he hit somebody's helmet with the elbow and a progression? Or do you just think, like you said, this might just be fatigue from, throwing the football a lot?
I'm not too sure on what it is. Like, right, like we also got to remember he's coming that UCL injury. He got a surgery that no other quarterback has really gotten outside of Nick Mullins, right? So he's getting a new surgery that nobody really knows how it's going to recover, how to treat it. And then when you are already lacking a big arm and you're going to rip a pass that you have to put everything in it, is that affecting that UC joint, right? Like we've seen, the thing that people don't understand is we've seen MLB pitchers have Tommy John, have a great year, the following year, rip that Tommy John again because they're putting so much force on that elbow. So I don't know honestly, I don't know what it is, but that's just me looking at the injury and trying to see what it really, like, what's the lingering effect of it. Is this something that is going to affect him the rest of his career? Is this something that the 49ers should be worried about? Obviously, they're worried about it. Obviously, they're optimistic that he could be their franchise quarterback, but it's definitely conversations that they're having on, is this going to be something that affects his career after we pay him?
Okay. Now that's what I was going to lead to next, was the longevity and I guess the outlook of what a contract would look like with something this serious as far as to the throwing, throwing hand, right? With the elbow and everything like that. And that he has a surgery on it, UCL. Besides him and Nick Mullins, like you said, they're the first case study, right? Like, basically, Brock Purdy's a lab rat when it comes to this type of injury because he's the only one. Him and Nick Mullins are the only ones that ever had it. So the Niners, I don't know what they would do moving forward. You would know more about that than me. But you said they're optimistic. But again, I think that does draw pause to concern, as well as, I know it's kind of early, but contract negotiations, man. That's definitely something they have to bring up at the table when they sit down with him, as in, we believe in you, but we believe in you at a point because of your injury, as well as we don't know how long this is going to last because we're going off of you being the first case study that, as far as a franchise guy, because Nick Mullins isn't even a franchise guy, right? He's a backup. So if Nick Mullins plays, 2 to 3 games, and he has to pass each game 40 times, that's nowhere near the number of a franchise quarterback that we expect Brock Purdy to be, that is going to have to withstand a 17-game season, right? So Brock Purdy is legit the first case study with this type of injury. So I'm definitely a little concerned. And, I hope everything does work out. But, I definitely feel like the Niners have to protect themselves on this one. And, like I said, I like Brock. I think that they could get done with him. But at the end of the day, we've been burned by too many, injuries of players that have these lingering. And every time I hear tendonitis, bro, it gives me nightmares because we can go to D Ford with the knee tendonitis. We can go to Javon Kinlaw with the tendonitis. Then when you got McCaffrey with his Achilles out a whole 9 months. A whole 9 weeks, right? So that's something that I think, definitely draws pause to concern. But, I know the Niners and the medical staff will definitely, work this thing on out. As far as moving on this season, I don't know where you're at with that, man. What do you feel? Do you feel we punt? Or do you feel that they got to fight?
You never punt a season when you have Hall of Fame players on your team, right? Like you just don't do that out of respect to those guys. You don't punt the season because you have Trent came back, right? He was threatening retirement, and I reported that then. Like he was essentially telling the Niners, like, I don't got to go play because I'll just retire unless you pay me. So he's done that. Fred, Hall of Fame level player, getting up there, 27, 28 years old. George Kittle. So you don't punt the season when you have those kind of guys out of respect for them. You're going to go all in. You're going to try to fight. You're going to do things to win this game, to get to next week, and then see, right. And then next week you see, hey, Brock, can you go? You have him practice. Can you go? If he can't practice, next over the next 2 weeks, you got to go 1-1, and then the rest of the way you got to go you could only lose really one game to win the division. So I don't think you punt it. I don't think that's something any 49er fans should think of, just out of respect for other players from the organizational standpoint. Now, me as a fan who loves to fully deep dive into the draft, I'm looking at is how far can we get up into the draft? That's where I'm looking at. Now, I know it's completely different, but for me, I would love to see them go on a run and then something drastic happen. You never know when a team goes on a run. But I don't think the Niners are going to try to punt the season away. I think that's far, far fetched from what the 49ers want to do.
I 100% agree with that. From an organizational standpoint, absolutely not. Jed York would be furious. But from a fan standpoint, I am slamming the table. Please don't go out there and win games and allow us to, like I said, allow us to do a soft reset this year and retool and come back like the Eagles did. The Eagles, I mean, were a fringe playoff team. They made wild card, got absolutely blasted, and now look what they've done with some good picks, with adding, Kenyon Mitchell, with adding guys that we were all in on, right? Adding Cooper DeJean, have made their way into the league to be like, okay, we retooled. Now we can get another shot at this. And if the Niners have figured out the most important position on the field, which is quarterback, and they look, whatever happens with the injury and all that stuff, if they do end up making him a franchise guy, I still think the Niners can definitely be in, a serious threat next year if they draft well this year, obviously. But I agree, we don't punt the season. I'll be rooting still for them on Sunday, whether it's Allen, Brandon Allen, or Josh Dobbs, man. It is what it is. I feel like the Niners should throw their hat in the ring for Daniel Jones. Go grab him and run QB power till the wheels fall off. You want to do it with Trey Lance? Well, Daniel Jones actually has some athleticism and can scoot. I think he might be a little bit faster than Trey. So go run QB power till the wheels fall off, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for calling in. Let me get to the next guy, get to Steve-O. But I do agree with you. Whoever's on the field, I'm rooting for. Make sure you guys drop comments, questions for us. Steve-O, let's get you up here, my man. How you doing, Steve-O?
Hey, what's up?
Doing good, man. So you were talking a little bit earlier. I know you had like questions and stuff like that. So I'd rather bring you up, make it easier so you have the floor. How you doing?
I'm all right. I don't remember those questions were because I can't see the chat when I was backstage.
So let me go ahead and go find it. I know you. Let's see if I can find it for you. How you doing? What's your thoughts on Brandon Allen playing?
From what I can remember, the preseason, like he just seemed more of a Brock Purdy type in the pocket passer versus Josh Allen. Did a lot with his legs. I didn't see enough to have an opinion one way or the other to really care. I know everybody wants Dobbs to start, but I mean, they obviously see more than we do. So I'm going to trust Kyle Shanahan.
So the last question you had put, or the last thing you had put, you were talking about 49ers winning the division, or it was the Cardinals winning the division.
All right. So everybody, if we win, and I know the spread went from 2.5 to 2 to 3 to 5.5 now, but if we win in Green Bay, they have their cornerback and linebacker out, and then Seattle wins the Cardinals, it's a 3-way tie. I know they have the tiebreaker and a better schedule, but it's only one game. So it's not like, we're done.
But at one game, at that point, do they have any more wiggle room to make any mistakes, right? Like you have that one loss. I agree. Like you go 5-6, so you still have 6 games the rest of the way, right? Yeah, 6 games the rest of the way. So they would be 5-6. If they win or if they lose, they would be 5-6 if they lose. So if they lose, is the season over? Because you're saying that they may win and it wouldn't change anything. So if they lose, does that completely end the season for the 49ers?
Everything but mathematically it does, because we got Buffalo, and I pretty much count that as a loss. I mean, it just all depends what the other division does too, because we just say, oh, it's an easy schedule. Cardinals are just gonna go undefeated. But nobody thought the Browns were gonna win last night either. You know what I mean? And so, but I see if Seattle wins, 3-way tie. Yeah, they got the tiebreaker, but I think next Arizona game is a tough one. I forget who it is, but I mean, one game is not like, especially this team. But I get everybody's we've got a lot of injuries and everything. So
yeah, I believe Arizona's playing. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're playing Seattle and then the Vikings, and then they play Seattle again. So they play Seattle on like twice in a 3-week span. So. Steve-O, I know you're a big Brock supporter, right?
Normally,
or has it changed?
Excuse me?
Or has it changed? Because I know you used to be a big Brock supporter, if I'm not mistaken.
No, what it is since back to Jimmy GJ's, all the content creators and people in the chat would just, dog this guy. And what I would do is support stats to make it kind of even. But people thought I was a Jimmy G supporter, but I'm like, yeah, but he was 16-4 his last year, or whatever stats I give, just to kind of equal out. Like you could just have one-sided side. So everybody thought I was a Jimmy G supporter, which I wasn't. But then all Niners content creators could only talk about quarterbacks for like 2 years because that's all we did, right? So, I mean, I am a Brock Purdy fan, but I mean, I keep it open either way. and of course, when you start the first 25 games with the best that anybody has ever done it, of course you're gonna fall off. But I mean, he's looked good. He's thrown some tight windows. Like I watched your breakdown. At least you're not like the guy goes 21 out of 28, and you're not like, oh, you had this and that. Like we could be up 3 touchdowns, and most of these guys breaking down film or only breaking down like his feet or even a completed pass, we're like complaining about where the accuracy was. And I'm like, what am, that's why I normally, when I watch I'm just in the chat to be a troll in the chat. I'm not actually watching the film. I might rewatch it, but I'm not going to watch somebody that taught themselves how to watch film when they're not actually looking at the game within the game. They're looking at play by play and watching like linemen, and then they're like, "Oh, Juice sucks. Let me look." It's like week 10. You're just looking at Juice. He blocked 3 guys last week, but you didn't notice until there was a beef with Juice.
Yeah, like for me, what I try to do, like in when I watch film, it's you got to give a player their flowers where it's due and criticize where it's due. Like ain't no one gonna have out of 70 plays, ain't no one gonna do a 70 out of 70. Let's see NFL, people get paid. I think what a lot of people forget is like the other defense gets paid, offense gets paid. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have players who are gonna have mistakes. But for me, it was just the turndowns that was constantly happening. And obviously, we find out that he had an injury to go with it. Brandon Allen playing. What's your thoughts, Stevo? Are we gonna win? Or are we? I know you said be honest, like right. You said we were gonna win, but what's your confidence level in Brandon Allen?
Well, I'm from Green Bay, so that's my second team. So I stay up with them.
Whoa! Green Bay's your second team.
It's my home team, if you will. But I moved.
I have to stop you there. How does that work? Having a second team be a team that the Niners have rivaled with in the playoffs, not only this year or the past 5 years, but in the past. How does that work for you? Because that is insane. I've never heard that before. Usually it's like an NFC and AFC team. How does that work for you?
So my whole family is still back there. That's where I'm from. But I moved when I was 8 to San Diego, and then to Nevada. So when I grew up, I couldn't watch them because all I got was 49er games. So I got me a like 4th grade, like draw Niner stuff and everything like that. But I couldn't watch them, because of the West Coast. So I became a Niner fan. But I'm still like I wore a cheese head to work before. Like everybody in my family is still Green Bay fans. So it's like my second team. So I actually do like keep up with them, their press conferences, just like the Niners, like not as much. But so like, I pay attention. Like they had 3 inches of snow the other day, and I pay attention to everything.
No, I get it. I know Justin's over here giving me crap in the chat. He said, Marco, don't whoa anything. Like until you see a effing mirror. He goes, tell me what that green looks like, man. I want to know. Because I'm a Giants fan, but I support the A's because they're leaving Oakland. I wear a lot of other baseball hats, basketball hats. I just will never wear anything other than Niners. So that's why Justin's coming at me. But Steve-O, thanks for tuning in.
Is that an upside down A's hat?
It's an upside down A's hat because they're leaving Oakland. I found it. It has the Ricky Henderson patch on it. I was going to an Oakland A's game, one of the last games with family. And I want a hat from every stadium I go to. And I saw the backwards A, and my thought process was it's a backwards A because they're leaving Oakland. So that I gotta take it. That was my thought process on it, which I think is probably like this because the fashion trend right now is flipping everything upside down.
Yeah. Hey, and just, as far as everybody, the fire Cal Shanahan, where that comes from. I mean, the guys, we're 3rd in total offense. We didn't have no Ayuk sucked this year. Debo sucks still. CMC was gone most of the games. We're still 3rd in offense. I get it's a red zone thing, but I mean, like, fire the guy. I mean, come on, you know where that's coming from. And also, don't trust a guy that thinks he wears Skechers and they're actually Vans, because Vans are obviously have a clear logo, and you just can't trust a guy like that to know football knowledge. You know what I'm talking about?
Nah, I don't. I respect what Grant does, man. So I'm gonna disagree with you there. I don't like putting other people, content creators, down because they're all grinding. Grant's doing what he has to do to grind and do everything. From my opinion, I think Kyle has his negatives. So, but I appreciate you, Steve, for tuning in. I have other people backstage. So I'm gonna get to them. We got you 5 minutes, but appreciate you for tuning in. I'm gonna get to the next people, man. Thank you.
All right, everyone.
We got Niner Gang in the house. How's it going, Niner Gang?
What's going on, Marco? How we doing?
I'm doing great, man. I can't complain. Life's good. How are you doing? How was dinner? I think you said you're going to eat dinner. What'd you have for dinner?
Oh, man, my wife made some quesadilla nachos.
Quesadilla nachos?
Yes, sir.
Sheesh,
Excuse my
man.
language, but that shit was fire.
Hey, you're good. I drop a couple of bombs here and there. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Yeah,
No,
I'm
man.
not. This show ain't kid friendly. I have it on kids, no kids friendly on YouTube, so it's good. They
That's what
understand.
I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But man, let's get into this shit then. Let's do this. So,
So
Brock Purdy, that little arm thing he got going on. I felt like that was something to do with his little throwing arm there, his elbow.
why you gotta call it little for? He's a buff guy.
Well, not like I don't mean like that.
I'm
Like
just messing with you, man.
no disrespect, Brock. But that dude, like his arm, man, I felt like his zip wasn't there, man. Like I know he ain't never had the strongest arm, dude, but like last season he had some zip on his ball in the red zone, tight windows, and like I think a couple callers already said, it's like we've noticed, it's not finally it's full circle. Makes sense why he's not taking some of these shots, these wide open receivers, because maybe he knows more than what we know, obviously. Maybe that's been going on all season. I mean, he looked good first week or two, but after that, man, he just didn't look right.
And I never been agree with you. And that's something like I was watching on film, right? Like one thing the word I kept using is trust, right? It's Brock's not trusting whether it's his eyes, his arm strength to get the ball to places, his receivers to throw with anticipation. And that's on Brock at the end of the day. If you're not able to make a throw and you're not throwing it, that's on you at the end of the day. So I do agree that that arm strength hasn't been there for the last couple of weeks. Are you a big time pay Brock no matter what kind of guy, or are you like, hey, we have to wait and see wait till the end of the year to see if we should pay him or not?
Nah, man, I'm more like I'm more of what's best for the team. At the end of the day, what's best for the organization long term, with the exception of, I don't necessarily want the players to get ran over, completely taken advantage of. But it is a business, and Brock has done good for us, but we can't forget what was around him. We can't forget that this is his third season, and my next question for you after this is going to be how long, but is he going to be out for the rest of the season? We don't know that. I mean, what's it look like is so basically 2 seasons at this point under his belt of playing time, and he's only been able to stay healthy for one. That's a big concern. That's why they ditched Jimmy G. Jimmy G could never stay healthy. So it's like, is he and it's not his fault, because I mean, when you go through a injury like he did, I mean, that's beyond his control, right? But the reality is the reality that there's an organization there and they're trying to win a ring. And you can't, it's unfortunate, but I mean, the dude balled out last year on, 800, 900K, and he's worth more than that by means, but I don't believe you just throw the bag at him just because. I believe let's see what happens, and if he can't finish out the year strong, I would almost have to lean towards, a really team friendly deal or a nice little 1 year prove it type thing or something to another.
Yeah, so I know you said you were going to ask a question. I don't know if you asked a question in there. I know you kind of asked a question, then answered a question yourself. So was there a question in there for me?
Oh yeah, there's a question. So without saying who said who what, but how long is Brock really going to be out? What's the real word on the streets? What this injury really looks like combined with the elbow and the shoulder.
I was told it was a 2 to 3 week injury, from at least what I was told on that shoulder. Now, the elbow have not been given word. I was told it was fatigue. They've had an MRI done on that. At least the shoulder and elbow MRIs have been done. From the shoulder, it's an AC sprain, grade 2, which is 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the tightness of it. They thought he was gonna be able to play through it. He wanted to. The organization wasn't on board. The organization was like, "We'll do it." They wanted to shoot that shoulder up to see if he could throw and play. I don't know if that happened during practice when he started throwing, and then he realized I'm in too much pain and ran off the field. But that's at least from what I've been told, that's what happened. Interesting situation, man, because if it's more than 3 weeks, you probably should just, hey, Brock, I think you should just sit the bench the rest of the way, get healthy, not necessarily benching him, but dude, get healthy. We're already done. We've lost 2 in a row. But again, you don't, statistically, if you're still in it, you never do that to like your organization, your team. But as a fan looking at it, is like, hey, if he really is injury prone and that elbow really is really messed up, we could get a quarterback if we lose a couple of more games. So like for me, I'm like in it's a weird situation to be in, just knowing like what's going on behind the scene and when I'm hearing stuff is like frustrating at times, man, because obviously he's a quarterback who is a really good quarterback. Just what is the injury really like with that elbow?
I mean, and can we also, I mean, think from a lot of good football minds, we got to take into accountability too. Yeah, he's getting hurt, but the O line doesn't always look the greatest, right? Jake Brindle, he's just looked god awful this year. You know, nothing personal, but that's just what I've
No,
seen.
he's been terrible. And there's ain't nothing personal about it. You're in football room, and I've talked to college athletes, football players, NFL, D1, everything. I'm straight up with all of them. You're playing like ass, you're playing like shit. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's on the film. It don't lie. Just to be honest, right? And he's been playing absolutely terrible. But we also got to talk about Brock's running into pressure though, right? Like he's stepping into pressure a lot of times because he wants to scramble. So he's walking into pressure. When he got hurt, it was off the scramble. So
Is maybe does that have to do? Does he feel like he has to scramble because he knows something's going on with his arm, and he's trying to just figure something out because he's not even taking the deep shots like he was, you know, when he was scrambling for the most part. You know, when Brock used to scramble before, it was like, okay, here comes the deep shot, and it's not even that no more, man. You know, to your point, you know, it's more he takes the run and he goes and runs for it. And it's
yeah,
like,
Brock was a big scramble to pass. It was kind of, and I know a lot of people kind of were trying to compare it to Russ in this during his Seattle days, where he would scramble and then end up throwing a bomb on you because everyone's out of place and the scramble drill happened. Now it's like he's hitting that back foot, scrambling to run and trying to actually get yards with his legs. I don't know if it's quarterback situation. I don't know if it's like his not trusting his own line, but definitely something that's concerning, right?
yep, definitely. And then another question for you, man. Any chirps around the block about how the organization really feels about Kyle and Lynch, the coaching regime here, as far as has there really been any timetable set? Like, hey, you got to achieve this certain goal. I mean, we all know the ultimate goal is the Super Bowl, but as an organization, like I was on Jesse's show talking about, is you know, I was on the bandwagon of, you know, let's fire freaking Kyle. It's annoying. I want to win a Super Bowl, you know. And then I listened to Jesse because I listen, you know, not closed minded. So I listened to Jesse hearing his side out, and he makes a good point, man. You know, like I just got done saying on his show, we can't lie, man. It's been a fun 5 years, bro. We can't lie. I mean, it's been fun. And any person, I don't like to judge anybody's ability on sports, but anybody that watches football for any length of time knows that this was somewhat special. Yeah, it sucks we didn't get a freaking ring out of it, but how many organizations get to experience what we got to experience? It's been fun, man.
It's been a hell of a ride the last 8 years, right? You going to Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls, NFC time. Throwback. You're right. It's past Jesse's bedtime, so that's why he's a little bit late. He's staying a little past bedtime today. But for Kyle's timeline, Kyle's gonna be here a couple of years. I don't see Kyle leaving anytime soon. I don't see the organization doing it anytime soon. And the reason is I believe Jed York and the Yorks learned from their past mistake in getting rid of Jim Harbaugh. I think they understand if you do get rid of Kyle Shanahan, who do you bring in? It's a hard process to actually find the right guy to be the head coach. I understand Kyle has his negative stuff. He hasn't gone over the hump. He's a bad play caller at times. I know brother Bob's in the back and he's getting ready to go on a spill. So Niner gang, you literally got us into a conversation with brother Bob because he's rolling his eyes back there. But
Yeah.
I think Kyle Shanahan will be here for at least another 2-3 years. I think Kyle will be here, and that's pretty much where we're at. Thank you, Niner Gang. Is that your name, Niner Gang, or?
No, man. My name is Steve Holsey, man. That's just my little screen name, you know, just messing around.
Appreciate you for calling in, Steve. I like to know people by first name just because it's a respect thing, man. So appreciate you for calling in, Steve.
Appreciate you, brother. And brother Bob, be nice, man. Be nice. Later, Marco.
I don't know if I want to bring this guy on, brother Bob.
Come on.
Earlier he said he was gonna cuss me out, so I'm afraid he may come on and just let me hear it.
Come on, brother Bob. We got to keep it semi PG, brother. Come on, you can do it.
He's a good dude. We talk on a regular. He's a good dude.
He's my dude, man. Later, Marco.
Alrighty, man. Thank you.
What's up, my
Let's
brother?
get that guy out of here.
That's
How's it
right. Get him
going,
out of
my
here.
man? I haven't talked to you in a while. How you doing?
Man, it's been too long, my brother. Way too long. You're supposed to hit me up last weekend, though.
I'll
Remember?
hit you. I'll hit you up tomorrow. I'll hit you up tomorrow. I
All right, for
definitely
sure.
definitely have to. That's definitely, um, man. So I know you have a lot to say. First thing you're gonna start with Kyle Levy. You're gonna start. I already know you. You're gonna come out. You're
Nope,
like
nope.
Kyle Levy needs to be
I,
fired. And we're gonna probably say something about Joshua Dobbs. How he's not playing Josh Dobbs. What's happening,
nope,
man?
nope. Man, let me just say this. I'm calm because I got off of Jesse's show. You know what I'm saying? That guy, that's my boy, but he always gets me riled up, right? Here's my thing, though. Before I go to Kyle Levy, I'm just gonna
Hold
keep it
on.
real.
How you gonna keep the same energy? You gonna go to his channel?
Look,
Keep the same energy. He
no,
cut you from the
bro.
channel. I mean, actually,
He
your
did.
your
He did.
Wi-Fi
Show.
wasn't working, so it might not work the rest of my show.
No, dog. I had to park the Benzo, and then like right here is always like it deads out, like right in the driveway. But no, real shit. I mean, real spit. My bad. So my problem with this is, and I love being a Niner fan. I love being a fan of football, but I just got to be real with my shit. I got to be real to myself. When I see this team. I can't see a team that will go far in the playoffs. Because, like, think about it, my brother. You're smart, Marco. You know a ton of football more than me. When you see bad play, wait, no, hold on. You thought Jalen Graham was good though, so maybe you don't know as much as me. But anyway, um, okay. But if this was the way our team plays, if this was any other team, you'd be like, okay, they're mid at best, right? Because when we lost to that depleted Rams, I was like, whoa, this. It's not good. The Rams had like no one. They were starting third stringers, guys off the street, and we couldn't beat them. So if this wasn't the Niners, what would you say? Be real.
If this wasn't, I'd be 100% honest. They have a really good head coach. If I'm looking at the Niners right now and I'm stepping away, and I do that on a regular. People think I'm a hater of the Niners. One, really, really good head coach who, in my opinion, is a top 5 head coach in the NFL. In my opinion, he needs to add stuff to him. Like I said earlier, he should hire an offensive coordinator, someone he really, really trusts. I think their defense and their draft classes, because when you trade up 3 first-round draft picks away and you're missing on draft classes left and right, that's going to affect your team if the moment you start getting older. And I said last year that the Niners were in their only year of a Super Bowl window. After that, it would close because guys get older, more expensive. What the Niners happening with the Niners is you're having to play a lot of younger guys. You're playing guys who are new to the system, a defense coordinator who doesn't know what he's doing right now. In my opinion, I truthfully, even though the defense is playing better than like statistically, they're not giving up extreme points. I don't think he knows what he's doing. He has them in bad spots. They're overplaying those bad spots, but publicly, they can't go to the media this year because they did it to Steve Wilks. They made Steve Wilks the scapegoat publicly. Nick Bosa did it. Fred Warner did it. They went to the media and said, well, and Tashawn Gibson did it. Oh, you have players in bad spots, and we are better than that. Kyle did it too. Maybe I should bring him to the field. To me, that's a head coach who's like, well, this is happening because of extreme Super Bowl hangover. You have talented players, and your core is still talented. And Fred, honestly, if we're being honest, Bosa, Fred, Trent, we can look at Demo. That's a really good core. If you're looking at that's a really solid core to build off of. So I would have said the same thing if it was any other team, brother. I would not be like, oh, this is a mid team. Their trenches is what hurt them. Losing 3 first-round draft picks and missing on classes is why the 49ers are where they are. Those first-rounders, those draft classes will be replacing a lot younger in their third year, second year, playing really good football. But right now, that's what's happening.
Bro. Okay. See, you're doing me like Jesse did. You're trying to gaslight me, bro. First
I'm
of
not trying
all,
to
hold on.
gaslight you. We can look at other teams too who were
Okay,
in a
but
similar
okay, hold on.
situation.
You and I have had this conversation. You don't really like Brock, right?
Oh yeah, and everyone knows I'm not a huge Brock
Okay.
supporter.
All right, then. So then you got what you said, a really good head coach, but he thinks Brock is the real deal. So
Are you
how
sure
the hell?
are you sure that's what he really, really believes, or was he doing something to give his guy confidence who played really, really well who is playing good football, and he knows I cannot go to. Let's say he really knew Trey Lance, and Trey Lance isn't starting, and I hate to bring this up, but he knew Trey wasn't the guy. Move on, wash your hands with him. Let's move on to Brock. Let me give him confidence by saying I believe he's the real deal. I could win games with him. You're being a coach to develop him rather than saying, I don't think he's that guy. And then he starts losing games. I don't know if Kyle really
Well, you don't
believes
have to say I don't think
believes
he's
in
that
him.
guy, but you can't have it both ways, my brother. See, you moved on really quick from Trey Lance after you get all that capital to get him, right? Then you could have just, you're pretty much saying he's not the guy. So why can't you do that with Brock? Why would you like try to backwards and say, oh, he's a real deal, but it really not mean that? No, come on. He's the real deal. That's what you said. So win with them. Second of all, they are mid. Look at the record. We're 5-5, bro. Mid. Okay. You are what your record is, bro. Don't tell me we're the best team in the league, but
Oh, I
we
never
can't
said
win the
we're the
Super
best team
Bowl.
in the league.
No, I know. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that's what people act like. We're not. We are 5-5. We can't beat the couldn't beat the depleted Rams. Lost to the Seahawks at home. I mean, like, this is not a good team. And it's the same mistakes we see happen over and over again. So again, it's hard for me. You want to blame, I mean, I don't know, I don't think you're blaming the defense, but you talked about Sorensen. Who hired him?
No, and I think that's
Kyle
Kyle's fault.
Levy.
I've said it. I said it when Kyle hired him. I said that's a bad hire. And I also said before the season, the Niners may be lucky to make the playoffs.
Okay, so here you go then. You got your top 5 quarterback. You just said it has talent. So how the hell are you going to be lucky to make the playoffs with a great coach, according to you, and all this talent? It doesn't add up. Something's not right. What is it?
Trenches, 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 trenches.
Okay,
When you
trenches,
don't
trenches.
draft in the
Who the
trenches,
hell doesn't? Okay, but bro, who doesn't draft for the trenches?
the thing is though, is I can criticize Kyle for all the bad offensive picks. I cannot say, hey, Kyle, you're not drafting in the trenches because he's not the GM. He's not the guy making that decision. We know, yes, Kyle has more power than John, but John is making draft picks. He is making those selections at the end of the day. He is building a defense, and we know that John has his hand all over that defense the way it's being drafted. So for me, I can't sit here and be like, Kyle, you didn't pick up a defensive tackle this year. You didn't draft another edge rusher, right?
Okay,
Like
but
I can't.
well, you tell me. You got the inside scoop. I want to cut you off, my brother. You got the inside scoop. You just said now that Kyle has more power than John, right?
He does. He does. Everyone knows
Okay.
that.
Okay. So for sure. So when it comes down to the picks, who's making the call on those picks?
I truly believe that Kyle Shanahan lets the scouting department and John Lynch handle that until after the season. John is making most of those picks. Kyle Shanahan has a big say, especially offensively. Kyle has all the say offensively. He knows that's his. If it's an offensive player, Kyle Shanahan 100% signed off. 100%
Okay,
signed
so
off.
then let's talk about the
Outside of
offensive
that,
trenches then.
outside of that, John Lynch and his scouting department are making selections, and Kyle's saying, I'm cool with it because you guys are the ones, because of scouting. You guys are the guys who know more defensively in other spots that way. That's where I see it. It's kind of what I've heard. Trenches offensively, we could talk about that. They put in stock in their trenches.
Well, let's talk about that then. That's what I'm talking about. The offensive line, the trenches. If you're such a great head coach / offense coordinator, don't you focus on trenches? And here's what kills me. He had 2 good centers that he was all about, right? All pro centers. Richenberg got hurt or whatever. And then I forgot his name.
Alex
Uh,
Mack.
Mack, right? Alex Mack from Chicago came off. So my point is though, why do you not get someone like that now? Your offense is so important. It's so predicated on the center calling the plays, the coverages. So why don't you invest in the offensive line? Same way with McGivitt. I'm telling you, man, that guy, him and Brent Hell, I call him Brent Hell, are the worst. So I agree with you in the trenches, but why does your guy, who you think is a great coach, top 5, not focus on center and now the right tackle? He lucked it to Pooney for right guard. I don't know if he wouldn't be starting Pooney if it wasn't for injuries. So that's what I'm
But how
saying,
did he
man.
luck
Talk
into?
to me.
How did he luck into him? He drafted him.
No, I know you drafted him. Well, the same way he lucked into him because I don't think he would have been starting Puny, but Burford got hurt, and so did The old guy. It's late at night. I'm
Feliciano.
forgetting names now. Yeah, yeah.
Feliciano.
Feliciano, exactly. So I don't think he would have started Puny over them. And the fact is, Burford was hurt and Feliciano was hurt. Feliciano was hurt most of the offseason, right? So that's why Puny got a lot of reps.
I disagree that he wouldn't have started him because when we look at Kyle Shanahan with offensive linemen, he started rookies in the past. He started his plan was to start Aaron Banks, and then he had a shoulder injury that kept him out for weeks. And then the offense was clicking his rookie year, so he didn't end up replacing him because the offensive line was playing well. He's been started him. Had the ability and the want to start him, so I disagree there because he has done it
I
in the
didn't
past
say
and he
he
has
wasn't
wanted
going
to
to
do it.
start him.
So
I'm not to cut you off. I'm not saying he wasn't going to start him because he doesn't start rookies. I didn't say that. I just don't think he would have started Puny, but for injuries. But go ahead.
I think he would have. I really do. I think he would have the way he did the same thing with Aaron Banks. You're not going to throw a rookie in first day training camp. You're running with the ones. Second day of training, you're like, that's not how he didn't have to do it with Aaron Banks, but the plan was to get them under their feet, get them going, and then eventually put them in that starting lineup. He did it with the plan was with Aaron Banks, ended up getting injured. Luckily for the Niners, is he didn't have to wait 3 to 4 days to get Puny some reps with the ones. Injuries happen, he threw him in right away. So I get what you're saying there. I get what you're saying with Colton McKivitz. He has not been as bad as people were killing him for. I understand that he has won a bad play every game or whatever. I disagree with you, though. I understand where you're coming from, the frustration of losing Super Bowls, frustration of losing NFC championships. Kyle's not going
But
anywhere.
hold on. You're the one who said trenches. So I'm going with you with the trenches. You brought up trenches, offensive
Yeah,
trenches, right?
that's why we are a mid team right now because of our trenches. 100%. That's
Okay,
why
so
we're a
then
mid team.
isn't that on
You
your
can't stop
boy,
the
Kyle
run.
Levy?
You can't stop the run, and you can't run the ball. Why? Because your center's really bad. That's 100% on Kyle. Brendel starting is on Kyle. Brendel being on this roster is on Kyle. But that doesn't make it a fireable offense to get rid of Kyle Shanahan. It just doesn't.
Oh man, okay. Listen, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I'm not gonna cuss you out on the show, but I think you owe some shit right now, bro. Because I'm telling you right now. See, I don't want to put your age out there. I'm an old cat, so. But I was telling someone, not just because I saw us win Super Bowls, okay, but to me, and I really mean this, I'd rather not win an NFC Championship game if you're gonna go to the Super Bowl and lose it. Because to me, as someone said to me, my brother MMK said, if someone were to tell you, hey, the Super Bowl's coming on, they know what's going to happen. Like they know your team's going to win, right? It'd be easy to watch that game, right? You'll watch it for sure. But if they tell you your team's going to lose, did you watch that game?
Ain't no one watching their team losing if it's a big game. It's
What I'm
common.
saying. That's what I'm fucking saying,
But
bro.
you
See,
have to
so
play the game. You have to play the game to understand what's going on and to see who's gonna win, to see who's better.
yeah, I
So
know, but I'm just saying, if you know your
everyone's gonna
team,
watch the game.
oh no, see, that's different. If I know my team's gonna lose, this is it. Like if someone told me, hey, I know what's gonna happen. I'm not trying to be let down on the biggest game on the biggest stage. Are you kidding me, bro?
So
You want to
are the
win that
Niners? So
game.
are you watching the Niner game Sunday?
Yeah, but as I said, I don't
But
know
you
if
know
you
they're
heard
gonna
me on.
lose. But you know they're gonna
No,
lose.
no,
So why are
I
you
didn't
watching?
say that. No, 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 no. I
We
don't.
know
No,
they're gonna
here's what I'm
lose.
saying.
I mean, most people know they're gonna lose. They're expecting them to lose. They're underdogs. So why are you watching?
No, no. See, hold on, listen to me. I said in that
Right?
scenario, if I know, no. In that scenario, Marco, I said if someone would tell me they know the future, they know for sure what's going to happen. That is one game I would not watch. I would not want to see my team lose a Super Bowl. Why? Because I'm the most distraught person when they lose a Super Bowl. All that work to get there. That's why you saw Brandon Ayuk crying after the Super Bowl. That's why you saw some players completely dejected. They worked their ass off. I got to give them credit for that to get all the way there. So it's worse to lose that. Now this weekend, I will say this: I'll watch, but I'm not as invested anymore because that guy Cal Levy is gonna get up somehow. So why do I'm gonna sit up there and get all like demoralized or all upset? Nah, it's like whatever, dude. Wait for this guy to go because he's proven he can't win it. I know you want to see him for another 2, 3 years. Probably so does Jed
I don't
York.
have a preference. I don't really have a preference. I just if you're going to get rid of Kyle, you have to guarantee that the next coach comes in is going to be able to have success right away. If he doesn't have success right away, what's the point of paying two coaches while Kyle Shanahan's getting paid to coach another team? You're paying another head coach to come in and be bad. when you could have Kyle do that and just play out the rest of your contract, and then once he's done, you wash your hands with it.
Well, good point. But let me just say this. You don't, you don't trip over dollars to pick up pennies. You don't throw good money behind bad. So just because, well, I got to pay this guy doesn't mean that you continue to just let it ride. That I wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I would be in the business to win it all, not just to win, division championships or get to playoffs. That's not winning to me. So, in my personal opinion, I don't look at it that way. You paying players that you kick off the team, right? Why do you play the players to kick off the team? Because you want to move on from the players. So it's the same concept to me. Move on from the coach. But hey, if being relevant, being in the mix, being around, is good for you, cool then. But for me, it's not. Like I
But
want
you're
to see my
speaking as a fan, right? You're speaking as a fan of the owners. They look at it a different perspective because it's their business, right? They're getting the $1 million. They're not picking up pennies or anything like. They're getting the million. So I look at it from every I try to look at it from every angle. Jed York and his organization, they're looking at like, well, we know that Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach. If we fire him, it may be a Jim Harbaugh mistake. Right? So they learn from that mistake. They have their seats filled every year. They have season tickets actually selling more every year. So for their perspective, why would they get rid of a Kyle Shanahan who's a top 5 head coach? For me, I don't think you should fire Kyle Shanahan. What I think you should do is bring in a real general manager, give that general manager all the power on drafting. I don't care if Kyle, you want an offensive player. This general manager is drafting everyone he wants. He's taking best player available, even if it's a defensive player over an offensive player you fall in love with. I'm going to give you the players. You're going to coach them. Your power is over your 53-man roster and coaching. I think that's what they should do. Get rid of, honestly, if you bring that in, would you have a different conversation on what's going on around the Niners? Are you 100% like Kyle has to get the heck out of here?
Well, here's the thing. Kyle's not going to give up that power, just like he's not going to give up play calling. So, in the beginning of the season, when I did the debate with stats, I was like, yeah, I would love to see OC duty stripped from Kyle, but that is Kyle, right? So I just don't see him doing that, man. I don't see it at all. But hey, um, we will see, man. I hate that I was right last couple of years. I hate that I was right after going to that Super Bowl. Like, man, he can't do it. He's just not it. So yeah, for sure, the owners love making money. I don't get me wrong, I get it. But you're right. From a fan, I want more than just, seeing the team being profitable but losing, seeing the team walk around, oh, we're the best team. Shut the fuck up. You're not the best team. You don't have a Lombardi trophy. So again, don't gaslight me, tell me you're so good, but you can't win. Like Demo. I hate Demo talking shit on
Oh, I
social
agree. I
media.
don't like players like that. You lose, shut up, put your head down, go get better, so you don't lose again. That's just me. I'm more of a I'm not a social media person like that. So I think with the day and age, younger athletes coming in, and even though I'm their age, it's like I have an older soul. So it's like seeing these guys come out and they're going right away to social media to talk. Oh, I would have popped the freaking cone head on up. I would have like, bro, you just got whipped on. Like you guys lost. They potentially knocked you out of the playoffs. If we're being 100%
Right.
honest, they made it so much harder for you to get into the playoffs. And you're sitting here like, oh, to me, I just don't like it. Steve-O says your 5 minutes is up, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, hey, let me just say this because my 5 minutes is screw you, Steve-O. But that reflects on Kyle Levy, my brother. See, that mentality that Demo throws out there, that's on him. So, because
I
you know what they
agree.
say, if you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. So, anyway, all right, my brother, it's always my pleasure talking to you. We'll talk again after the show. You know what I'm saying? Screw you, Steve-O. And I love that hat, though. I do love that upside down. Hey, man, that looks tight, bro.
Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, bro. Talk to you later.
Later.
If anyone else has any questions, concerns, want to talk, links in the chat. I'm gonna go over because I know people may have joined a little bit later. What I went over with Brock Purdy situation. From what I have heard, Brock Purdy has been dealing with elbow fatigue, tightness, whatever you want to call it. The way it was worded to me was fatigue/tightness in the elbow for the last 3 to 4 weeks. 49ers did MRI on the elbow. They did MRI on the shoulder. The shoulder is an AC sprain. I was told it was a grade 2. That's why it makes sense on why Kyle Shanahan said We think he may be able to play next week, but we just don't know. We don't know the certainty of it. One quote that I took from John Lynch was, "We have an outline of a plan." He essentially said we have an outline of a concept of a plan for his injury. What's a concept? Like, oh, he might be out this many weeks. He might be out 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Like, you don't really know. So for me, that was a little confusing by John Lynch. Let's get to some of these. The super Roger. Shout out to you, Roger. He says, Marco, you really want the Niners to tank? I don't want the Niners to tank. I know it probably came off that way, Roger. What I want that for the Niners to do is, if you're going to lose, if you lose the next 2 games and Brock's shoulder is really, really bad, like, I'd never want my Niners to ever tank, ever. I think that's stupid. It's jacked up to other players on the team. But if you're going to be losing, for me, I'm a big fan of the draft. I do draft content. I do deep dives on players. So for me, I want to see how far they get up, because for me, the higher you draft, the more exciting, right? The more I have to deep dive on top 20 players, top 30 players, and find the best player at that spot, or at the best player available right there. So for me, it's more so just what I love to do. I don't want to see them tank, though. They're going to end up making the playoffs. We already talked about this, Roger. We're going to beat you guys for the division. End up beating the last week of the season. Niners win the division by beating the Arizona Cardinals. Book it. You want to know why? NFL needs the Niners in the playoffs. The Niners need them. Brother Bob says, here's $2 for the cuss jar. Man, you cussed like 100 times. Jeez, if my little cousin would have heard you, he would have said, that's $500. All good, brother. He said, get ready, brother. LOL. Y'all getting swept by us this year. I don't know about that, man. I mean, you guys do have a really good offense. We talked about this in the past. You guys have one of the best offenses, in my opinion, in the league. In my opinion, best quarterback in the NFC. 2 really, really good receivers, a good running game. The offensive line is getting healthy. I had said before the NFL season, I remember I was live with Ashley Ariana, and we were talking about who could potentially knock the Niners out of the playoffs. And I said the Los Angeles Rams. And a lot of people in the chat, I know, Roger, I think you were here for that one. A lot of people in the chat were laughing like, oh, you can't even name 5 players on the Rams defense. And I went off and I listed a handful of players on the Rams defensive line, secondary. Man, their defensive line is very young. Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse. They have guys in the secondary, Cam Curl. I do like Kobe Durant. So, man, that's a really good young team over there. It sucks to see the Rams being good again. Roger, who do the Rams play this week, my man? You guys play the Philly, right? Philly special. Philly's already in the playoffs. They're going to host a game, most likely, because I think they're going to win their division. Even though I don't like Philly, I don't like the Rams either. But I think I need Philly to win because of the 49ers playoff hopes. Roger, sorry, my man. Y'all losing this week. And then y'all be 5-6. We'll be probably 5-6, but as a 49er fan, we'll be 6-5 because I'm talking smack to a Rams fan. We'll be 6-5. We'll have that one game ahead of you. It's interesting battle for the NFC West. It's hard, in my opinion. It's going to come down to the Cardinals. They play the Seahawks twice. They play the Rams once, and they play the Niners once. That's 4 division games, I believe, over the next 7 weeks. That's a rough go around if you're a team trying to win the division or get into the playoffs, having to play division rivals. You fall one of them, you fall 2 of them. Now you're in a spot. This is a good question, Tom 49. So the question is, and if you guys don't mind, make sure you drop a super chat for today's show. Do more call-ins. We'll do call-ins every Friday. Probably gonna do them a little bit earlier. Maybe do them Mondays, like a post-game rant show. Probably doing Fridays though, just to get everyone's thoughts on what's going on for the week. But Tom 49 says, "You think we drafted quarterback with Brock's elbow questions?" Newsmeyer and Aller are my guys. I really, really like Drew Aller. I've essentially, and I hate doing this, but I told a couple of my guys, like, I don't want to fall in love with any player this draft cycle. Like, there's sometimes I fall in love with a player here and there. I know a lot of people give me shit about Kingsley Sumataya. He started week 1 for the Chiefs, the reigning champs. I said he would be a day 1 starter for the Niners at right tackle, the position he was playing in college. Goes to Kansas City. They asked him to play left tackle. So going from left tackle his junior year, going to right tackle his senior year in college, and going back to left tackle, his footwork is all messed up. Give him a year. I did say he was going to have a lot of question marks in terms of development. He has to develop. I said I would take him over Rosengarten. I like Rosengarten, but I would take I said I would take Rosengarten at 31, only if you truly believe that he could play guard and tackle, because you can move him inside and then move him outside if you need to play him at left tackle. But I wouldn't have minded him. I think he's going to be a guy to develop as well. I think he's a better guard than tackle. He is struggling, or at least he was. That was your guy too. Rambo, which one was your guy, Kingsley or Rosengarten? I wasn't like crazy over Rosengarten. I said I think Rosengarten was more of a true second round pick at 63. But I would understand if the Niners did take him at that 31 spot, just because they don't want anyone to take him in the second round ahead of him. I think Kyle may have liked Rosengarten because he got sniped by the Ravens. Aller, going back to the Aller question, how high are we drafting? Like that's my question, right, Tom? Like, are we drafting top 20? Or obviously if we make the playoffs, we're drafting outside of the 18, so it could be 19, 20. Are we drafting top 12, right? Like, what does it look like on where we're drafting and how high? I really like Drew Aller. Drew LR has all the talent you're looking for in the quarterback: size, arm strength, athleticism, big, strong arm guy. I like him. I'm a fan. Newsmeyer, he ain't going first round. You're going probably second or third, more like the third round, just because he only has 1 true year of film. Lacks a lot of stuff that when I've seen. For me, if you're picking top 12, right, it would be organizational malpractice if you didn't look at Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and those are the top 2 quarterbacks right now. If you don't look at those 2 and you're picking top 15, organizational malpractice, because the team that's going to pick first, in my opinion, so we look at the NFL draft order right now, the way it sits, Jacksonville's picking first. So if you really, really fall in love with a quarterback and you know he's the answer, he is the absolute dude, I mean, they're trading back. So you could make, if you're picking top 15, hey, maybe you give them 15, you trade away Brock, you get a first round back. Maybe and I'm not saying this happening. I'm just hypothetical. We're talking hypothetically, obviously. But if you're picking top 15, you could make that call, possibly move Brock for a first, maybe a second, high second, or whatever the case is. The team that's trading for him has to pay him. But you got to have the conversation if you're picking top 15. Is my quarterback the answer that I have? And if he's not, that's a question. I've heard a lot about the Indiana quarterback. I have not watched him personally, so I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the quarterback of the future. I heard people saying that he has NFL talent. I know they're top 5 in the nation right now. I'm not sure on if I believe that he's the dude. I know a lot of people say like he's legit. I've watched a game of his. I believe his name's Curtis Rourke, right? I believe. I don't think he's an NFL franchise quarterback. If I'm being honest, from the 1 or 2 games I've seen of him, lacks a lot of talent. Dion did say his son's going to the Raiders. I don't know about that though. Right? Like, we're looking at the draft order, as it sits right now. If he doesn't go to Jacksonville, the Raiders would have to jump the New York Giants. Or obviously he's not going to Jacksonville. I don't think the Tennessee Titans are a team that he would want to play for. I also think Tennessee wins another game. As it sits right now, the Giants sit ahead of the Raiders. So if the Giants really want, but hey, Jacksonville will give you guys our third overall pick or second overall pick. I still think Jacksonville wins another game too. At the end of it, it might be New York Giants picking first overall. No Daniel Jones. They're doing like a little elegant tank over there, giving their fans Tommy DeVito. I don't think he ends up with the Raiders. I think he ends up with the Giants. That's just my prediction. I think he ends up with the Giants. It's interesting. Tom, actually, they did look into Patrick Mahomes. It's been a public record, and I want to make this very clear. John Lynch made it public. He made it clear. They weren't planning on scouting quarterbacks, but they were looking at quarterbacks. They were going to a lot of quarterback pro days. And the reason why they were going to pro days is because they wanted teams to believe that they were drafting a quarterback. So if they decided to trade back with the Bears or back with another team, those teams knew that they were going after a quarterback. He went to Patrick Mahomes' pro day, and John Lynch said after the pro day, he called Kyle Shanahan and said, we may have to rethink our draft philosophy this year. He said that quarterback has the talent that I've never seen before. He said it publicly, and it got passed up when it was said publicly, and a lot of people were like, he's just bullshitting. He said that for a reason, in my opinion. I think he said that so everyone knows Kyle Shanahan didn't want Mahomes, not John Lynch. I think that's what happened. I think John Lynch wanted to publicly take a step back, and it was when did he say it? May have been right after we drafted Lance or right before we drafted Lance in that draft class, maybe. It was a couple of years now. Maybe it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. Man, I'm trying to think of when he said, what year he said it or what month. But he said it, kind of trying to isolate himself from Kyle Shanahan, like essentially saying, well, I scouted him. I liked him. But we had a draft process that we had to go by. Interesting method, right? Dion does have pull. I do agree with that. Dion does have pull in a lot of the organization. Justin said it was 2021 when he said it. Dion does have a lot of pull, but if a team drafts you like the New York Giants, one thing that the New York Giants do have that the Raiders don't, they have a really good defensive line. They have Malik Neighbors, who's a top receiver, really, really good receiver. They have Tyrone Tracy, really good running back, at least a good rookie this year. The Raiders have Brock Bowers. So it's looking at them, it's like which situation is better? I think it's a better situation to be in New York, in my opinion. You got Neighbors, a good running back, a really good defensive line. They have a good corner. So better to be in New York. Also big market. Giants and Raiders both don't have a coach. I agree. Can you get a Marvin Harrison jersey yet? I don't even know if you can. That was the weirdest thing I've seen in the longest time. Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey. I'm gonna Google it. Can I buy one? I don't think you can. Oh, you can buy one, but it's like on eBay and like the NFL shop. You could create it, but like no one has them on actual NFL shop or anything like that. That is the craziest thing I've heard of and seen over the last few years. That's just crazy. They have a turf and a torn ligament in his future. That's a good point, I guess. Weird situations have turf nowadays. It's any questions? Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. The Niners, my favorite players this season that I've loved to watch this year. I know we're in a situation this year where a lot of negative stuff's being said, a lot of negative energy around the team and stuff like that. Evan Anderson, I was really big on him during training camp and preseason. I wanted him to be on the initial 53 man. Malik Mustafa having a hell of a season for a rookie. Demo's had a hell of a year this year. George Kittle's played really well. I think Dominic Puny's been phenomenal. Bernardo Green's been really good. Man, who else? Why am I drawing a blank? I think Ricky Pearsall's coming along slowly. I don't like that he only got 2 targets last week. Not how you treat a rookie first-round draft pick receiver, especially when your starting tight end is out and your top receiver is out for the rest of the year. It's just weird. Trying to figure out. Running backs, play Jordan Mason, play Isaac Garendo. Jawan Jennings, that's an obvious one. My bad, Justin. That's an obvious one, right? Jawan Jennings has been phenomenal. The Niners' go-to receiver. Absolutely incredible what he's been doing this year. Who else? Why am I drawing blanks? I think their signings this year were kind of stupid. Signing Jordan Elliott I didn't like it. Not a great run defender. Is better at run defending, but not a great run defender. Not a good pass rusher. Weird signing. Said it before the season. I didn't like the Leonard Floyd signing. I understood it. It was a better signing than the Jordan Elliott one. But in my opinion, it was something that was interesting. Justin, what do you mean by you? This is the second time I've seen you say it. Like, oh, you're crossed out. What does that mean? Explain to me. I'm telling you, I'm an old soul. Explain to me, Justin. I didn't like the Malik Collins trade. Those are the main signings they had. 49. I'm gonna give you guys a bold prediction for this week because I probably won't go live tomorrow. I probably won't say anything. Bold prediction. Jordan Mason runs for 75 yards. The Niners run the ball for a total of 200 yards. Defense has 1 interception. The interception comes from Malik Mustafa. Jawan Jennings has a good game. George Kittle has a good game. 49ers win by 3. The Green Bay Packers miss a game-tying field goal with about a minute left. 49ers ice out the game in victory formation in Lambeau Field. That's what happens this week, this Sunday. Niners keep their hopes alive. It all bangs back to how serious the AC sprain for Brock Purdy is and how that elbow feels. Nick Bosa probably out at least 2 weeks. I think he'll be out the Bills game as well. I don't think he even travels with the team this week. I'd be shocked if they get him on the plane with an oblique injury and the hip injuries and the elevation and the cross country with the cold weather. Be shocked if they do that. I think at some point we see Josh Dobbs on a for me, Justin, the entire time I thought you were talking about the puff pass. I thought you were talking about like I'm hella high, but nope, don't smoke. I don't smoke. I don't do it. A lot of people think I do, but I don't. Don't do it. Tried it. Don't like it. Never have. Tell a friend to be a friend and sub a friend. That's right. Tell a friend to be a friend to sub a friend. Make sure you guys send this to your mom, your grandma, your favorite person in the world, your cousin, even if they're not your favorite person. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We will definitely. I'm sorry, Stevo. Sorry. Prayers up. But make sure you guys share it with people. We'll really appreciate it. We'll be doing Friday call-in shows, maybe on Mondays Mondays, but it'll be Fridays, usually probably around 4:30. We're doing a call-in show. Get it cracking for the weekend. Monday, I'm trying to get a guest that I used to have on. Tuesdays or Wednesday, we'll be with Rohan. Thursday, I'll be by myself. And then Fridays, obviously, call-in show and most likely doing a show with Ashley Ariana. Saturdays and Sundays is for the family. Make sure you guys warm up the grill tomorrow. Enjoy family time. Crack a cold one. Enjoy your guys' evening or night, I should say. Enjoy your night. Have a blessed night, everyone. Have a really good Saturday. Enjoy it. Niner faithful. Appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. A lot of you guys were here the entire time. That's respect. Absolutely love you guys. 49ers get a dub on Sunday. Make it 6-5. Make it an even interesting. The Niners like to make things interesting. If they go 5-6, all they do. How come you don't stream with Grant? How come you don't stream with Grant? Niner gang. Good question. He put out a tweet. He said, "Hey, if you would like to stream, DM me." I hit him up. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm the chosen one out of like the probably 150 people who submitted a DM. Hopefully, I'm the chosen one. Hopefully, Grant sees this. Hopefully, you see this, Grant. Hopefully, you guys send this to Grant. Hopefully, I'm the guy he chooses, and we have a good show together. And I think we'd balance each other out. I think I'm sometimes on a high or freaking could be a some people call a hot take when I have a strong opinion. Grant could be like that too, but he also has a lot of level-headed takes and a lot of level-headed things when he sees from football, and I feel like I could be the same way at times. So I think it would be a really good match. Hopefully, I think it'd be a good one as well. I think we'd be able to balance each other out, especially because he's a lot of people. When I'm hot takey, what people say, right? They call hot take when you just have an opinion, really strong worded opinion. But Grant's a good dude, good friend of mine. Hopefully, we have a show one of these days. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Appreciate you, Justin. Grant's a good guy, man. Grant gave me my first opportunity in the writing. From writing from Grant, I've made so many connections from just beginning to write for Grant. Became credentialed for Stanford, like 2 years after writing for Grant. Met a lot of people being credentialed for the Stanford Cardinal. From there, those people I met introduced me to other people, introduced me to a guy that I know who's within the organization. A lot of avenues and doors have been opened for me in the sports industry or sports community because of Grant. So I always give him his props because he did a lot for me. So never have anything bad to say about Grant. He's a good dude. But everyone, have a good rest of your guys' night. You guys enjoy. Thank y'all for tuning in. We out.